Hey guys, welcome back to week 2, lesson 8. Today, this quick lesson, we're going to talk about application. Again, I could spend an hour on this. We're going to give you the crash course, the cliff notes. And so, as we jump into looking at what's going on here, you kind of need to understand that the study of Scripture, it's not just an academic endeavor, so you can get things into your mind. There's a much higher purpose, and that higher purpose is to transform, the one reading the Scriptures into the actual image of Jesus. And so far we've broken down the text into its clauses. We've answered all the observation questions. What's in the text, the who, what, when, and where. We've taken our Blue Letter Bible and our dictionary and our resources, and we've defined some key terms focusing on verbs. So now it's time to take all that we've learned. We've broken it down. We've looked at what does the text say. We've looked at what does the text mean. And so now we want to take all of that and we want to do something with it. Knowing, about the Bible or the facts of the Bible is not really the same thing as knowing God. Something that we're going to discuss in depth in week 3 of this particular study. And we're going to talk about what it means to know God, and to know God is to love God. But in this Bible study portion, we use this thing called the SPACE method. I added a T to it, so we call it the SPACE T method. And what we do is we use it to dissect what we've learned from our passage of Scripture into just little categories to just help our brain chunk down what we've learned. And it uses that word SPACE and the letter T as an acronym. And you can see in your book there, if you look into your student manual, you can download it, print it, or get it from the one that we got in class. The S stands for, are there any sins to avoid in this passage that we're studying? Does it identify anything that's just wrong, that I should not do? Are there any promises in there to claim, like Jesus coming back? That Jesus is going to recreate the whole world into something new. Is any of that in there that I need to claim or to act on? The A stands for, are there any actions or attitudes that I need to pursue? Maybe they're not actually laid out, but it's just good things to see in there. There are things that they're doing, like communion, the Passover, doing those sorts of things. People who have a loving attitude towards others, the Good Samaritan. Are there attitudes portrayed in the passage that I need to emulate? The C stands for commands to obey. Some scriptures make it really easy. Thou shalt not kill. If you're reading that passage, it's a command. When Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me until I come, about communion, about the Lord's Supper, that's a command that we need to obey. Remember when we were doing the verbs, when you get into imperatives, when you're digging into the tense, voice, and mood of the verbs, when you get to an imperative, it's a command. So when we come across those, we would write that in this space, that there's a command in this passage that I need to obey. The E stands for examples. Are there any examples here that I need to follow? Again, it's really similar to the attitudes or actions, but maybe there's just someone doing it well that we need to follow after. And then I added the T because sometimes there's things in the scriptures that are just, they're not a command, it's not an action thing, it's not necessarily an example, it's just a truth. Like, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There's just a truth in that passage that God is the creator. And we could put that down in something that we observed and learned out of this passage of Scripture that we're doing. So now what I want you to do is take your section of Acts chapter 16, is it 16 through 19, that we've been studying this whole time, and I want you to open up your manual or take your printout, and I want you to read and in there and follow this SPACE T method and write down the things that you've learned. You don't have to be wordy. You can do 2 or 3 words, bullet points. Do it however makes sense to you. Just put them in there. But after you do it in written work, actually writing it in your manual or on your paper, I want you to go back into the Teachable online course, and we've got a space in there for each one of these letters, each one of these items. I want you to type that in there as well. Do it on your phone, do it on your computer, doesn't really matter. But again, that way I can see it and I can help you and interact with you as a teacher would in a class through the week as we prepare to go into our meeting on Sunday, and you can have some of your questions answered and be ready for our discussion. So in this one, remember, you're just applying what you learned. So my parting thought would be this again, just learning stuff about God is not really what he intended. He wants us to put it into action, apply it to our lives so that we can be transformed into the image of his son. See you next time.